Okay, so today we will revise the conditional sentences that we have already seen for many years now. We will just say that we will work on the four typical conditional sentences, and we will also have a quick look at the mixed conditionals. So let's first of all start remembering that there is a zero conditional first, second, third conditional, and then those mixed conditionals. Okay. The zero conditional is mainly composed of the if clause and a simple present plus the rest of the main clause that also contains a simple present. The typical example is if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. As you can see, after if there is a simple present, and in the main sentence, in the main clause, there is also a verb in present simple. Okay, this is something this is a structure we usually use when we are talking about something that always happens like that. If you heat water to 100 degrees, it always boils. Okay. Remember the use of commas in this kind of structures. The if clause goes at first, and then a comma is used to separate both sentences, the if clause and the main clause. So there's where we should add a comma. But if we start with the main clause and then we use the if clause, if works as if it were a connector, a link, so the comma is not used. Let's continue with the first conditional sentence, which also has two parts, the if clause and a simple present behind, and the main clause that now contains a future tense. An example, if it rains, we will stay indoors. This is something highly probable to happen. If it rains, we will stay indoors. There may be a chance that we don't, but it is highly possible that this action happens. We mostly use will, but we could also find some other modal verbs such as can, shall, or may. As for the second conditional, also called the hypothetical conditional sentence, we now have two sentences, if clause and a simple past. Remember that if the verb is to be, was is not used, but we use were instead. And then the main clause that contains a conditional sentence, which is would and a base form of the verb. As in this example, if it rained, we should stay indoors. Right? Remember, we are talking about something hypothetical. Should is possible, but would, could, or might are also other modal verbs that we could use with this second conditional structure. As for the third conditional structure, many times people refer to it as ideal. It also contains an if clause that has a past perfect behind, and the main clause that has a conditional perfect behind, that is would, have, and the past participle of the verb we are working with. As if in this sentence, if it hadn't rained, we could have gone out. That is something that could have happened, but it didn't happen. That is why it is called irreal, because we are referring to something that has already happened, so it is impossible for that to happen again. And instead of could, we could also use would, should, or might, those other modal verbs that we can work with. As for the mixed conditionals, we will just have a look at two types, the most important or the most common structures. The first one contains the if clause followed by a past perfect simple, followed by the main clause that contains a conditional simple. That's a mixture of the third conditional sentence and the second conditional sentence. Let's have a look at the example. If Vince had taken my advice, had taken is the third conditional, he wouldn't be in trouble now, and wouldn't be is a conditional simple, second conditional. That is, Vince didn't take my advice in the past, but it is now when he is in trouble. So it refers to the past, but the result affects the present. Again, we could use would, but also could, should or might. And to finish, the last type of conditional sentences we will have a look at is this second mixed conditional sentence that contains if and a simple past, and the main clause that has a conditional perfect. That is a mixture between the second and the third conditional types. Let's go to have a look at this example. If Vince were a good student, he would have studied for the exam yesterday. Notice how we are using a simple past, that is typical of second conditional sentences, and would have studied, that is a third conditional type. The idea is that Vince is not a good student now because in the past he didn't study for the exam. So now the result affects the past. That is the main difference with the previous conditional sentence that we have seen. Okay, after this short summary of what you had already seen during your secondary courses, we just are about to start working on these grammar exercises. Thank you.